And as it says in 1st Mjolnir, 2nd Corinthians, verse 12, "Oh, hi, I didn't see you there. I'm Gjor," and no, I'm not doing that for the entire video. We have a huge showcase for you today, but I also have a few Conan-related announcements. Now, the other thing that I'm doing Conan-related today is that I remade my all Magic and Conan video in terms of a script. I already have the script up, and I'm going to be working on that all day today after I film this and get this out to you. I'm going to be working on that all day today to get that out to you. It is a better, more epic treatment than the original video. I've relabeled that an introduction to Magic and Conan because it's still a good way of talking about Magic and Conan, but this makes it much more clear. It's also a much more cinematic way of telling people. So the first thing I want to show you before we get into what the title of the video says, I should have named it something like The Recreation of Conan Religions and Conan Altars and Temples in Valheim. I did this because I consider Valheim, and I'm sorry, but even as a Conan fan, even as a huge Conan lore nut, I consider Valheim to be a better game. I think it's just so evenly balanced between its survival and its building mechanics. Just the fact that when I am, and you can see our portals here, it's turned into our portal room. We have finished decorating the Grand Temple of Loki, which is showcased in our last video. So we have here the Mother of Loki sort of stand-in statue. We have Odin here in the Grand Temple. But the reason I did that, just because I consider Valheim such a better game than Conan Exiles. My experience in Valheim, everything from the space it takes up on my computer to the way it runs to the atmosphere that it provides, to me is just so much better. I can pretend to be a Zamoran. I can pretend to be anything I want culturally in Valheim just as much as I can in these other games. So that's my personal thing, just as a solo player as well, because I also have a lot of fantasy followers. But this is the first thing I wanted to showcase. I have finished decorating the inner sanctum, if you will, my Sanctum Sanctorum, the inner temple, the Grand Temple of Loki. You already saw we had, I'm not sure if this was in the original video, if I already had this decorated, but we have the various bleachers for people to use to sit and listen to sermons in the inner temple, scrolls and books written to Loki. If you remember from our original video, we fused Catholic design philosophy, and that was sort of the opening joke. Catholic design philosophy with Norse design philosophy. 2 statues to Jormungandr right here, and of course our big old statue to Loki. The green torches are kind of out though, and I don't have any wood right now. I don't care. I don't want it. Anyway, if you want to see the green torches lit, go see the other video. It's very good. We have, of course, great statues to Odin. We have various changes that have been made in here, shelves with books that I'm using as a stand-in for like a holy book of Loki. In reality, it says Wordsworth, so Wordsworth is the holy word of Loki. All hail Wordsworth, all hail Wordsworth. Okay, now, moving into the rest of it, like we said, this was going to be a library. It might still be a library. I might still expand this out with the clutter mod and make it into a library, but it right now is also a portal room. I have the portal tagged Cull over here. Cull will take me to the Cull here, the Cull portal, will take me to the micro mill, which is the center where I have my forge, my workbench, everything else, and that's just a cluttered mess. So we'll showcase the terrible stuff first, maybe, and then get into that. But I don't know. This is the Conan portal, and the Conan portal will take me to the very beginning of the map. Frankly, I think it would have been, because I named the world Atlantis, it would have been far more poetic for the Cull portal, Cull of Atlantis, to take us back to the original starting place and starting stones. Basically, if I start a new character, they can enjoy the benefits of all of this, and they can go and war in the world as a monster hunter. They don't have to worry about this, because this is my god mode character, obviously. I like making, building things, doody-doo. Then the Conan portal would take me to the micro mill, because he was a guy who had a nice sword near the riddle of steel, and that would be nice. But I also remake it, or the Forge of Conan, if you will. Alright, so I'll showcase a little bit of the rest of this temple just as we go out here. I also have, obviously we have our wolf priest friend here because we have fantasy followers installed, and he's always wearing something else. Aren't you, little buddy? He's our wolf priest. He preaches the word of Loki. He's a nice guy. And then we have, out here, we actually have a worshiper now. So also, we had a little skull, little baby skull right there. Little skull watching you. Little skull watching you. And of course, we come out here in the All-Father Odin, because this initial temple is made in the style of Norse mythology. The All-Father Odin is always watching, so we have Odin statues pretty much everywhere. we have, I mean, he is the father of Loki. So Odin is always watching, and we have these little cabinets here. And like we said before when we were first doing this thing, you know, it's a little welcome table. People can lean on it, sit, talk. Not sit, but you're not supposed to sit. You're supposed to go, and you're supposed to go through the ears. So you're not supposed to sit, but you can lean on it. You can talk to people. Maybe some food will be out for people to chill and sort of talk about the problems. We go out here. We installed a nice little gate out here. Let me get a light out for you. It's Valheim Legends, the Metavoker skill. It's great for building because as you can see, I go into build mode, and you see how, the light stays in place. It's a great thing. Now, we have this nice fountain out here. Again, 2 benches. People talk about their problems. 2 ravens symbolizing, etc., etc. We went over this in the first video. I'm not trying to do too much of the Loki temple so that we can actually get into the Conan build. But as you can see, we now have a black gate, a black stone gate, sort of protecting us from the wilderness and also making sure the worshippers can't leave. Don't worry about it. Now, this is a worshipper. He's a starving outcast who is hungry, and we will eventually feed him at some point when I feel like it. But anyway, let's head back into the portal room, and we will get started with this showcase. So, we'll start with the simplest of the builds, and that is obviously, and I want to get my phone for reference because obviously later I'm going to add in pictures for you to see these things, but I need to see them right now. So, we'll go with the first is our simplest build ever, which is the Pit of Yog. I recreated the Pit of Yog from Conan Exiles. Of course, you know Yog, he's a tentacled savage horror that encourages cannibalism. So let's go see the biomes that were used to create these. Of course, were just as important. People get tripped up by Conan Exiles and the aesthetics provided by Conan Exiles. Conan Exiles, while yes, technically having something of a diverse sort of biome to it in its own right, doesn't really, in terms of, you know, I would say environment accuracy. So we're here in the swamp biome, which is very reminiscent of the Darfar, who come from a largely South African style culture, and they primarily worship Yog. So a bit of the lore notes that I want to go into for making the Pit of Yog. Firstly, as you can see, we actually made this on a Surtur pit with the Surtlings and everything else out here, and we periodically killed them with a bunch of more defenses, but that's not part of the design. But we made it with on the top of a Surtur pit, so a bonfire plus that really adds to the ambiance here. This is not lighting you could get without building on top of this location, so I fully appreciate that. Now, the big note here, the skulls. The skulls are a huge thing. So, why, you might ask, did I choose to go with skulls that are not arranged in a circle as you see on screen? The circle is a huge protective symbol for ancient religions. It always is. It's one of the most primal, safety-feeling things that you could ever have. Well, the reason I did that is when you have skulls like this, it's better to have them, I view it more historically reminiscent, to have them in dynamic places. So when it is dynamic, it is a totem that is being used to ward off evil spirits, which is definitely how the Darfar would view it. This is a symbol. It is warding off evil spirits. It's a totem. When it's a totem, it's better for it to be more dynamic because it's supposed to be reminiscent of a living being. So instead of a standard circle, which would be stones, we will see symmetry and how I've altered and changed the Mitra shrine later. But this is what has been done here. These shoddy ladders are the closest I could come to, because if we had stairs that looked like this, that would be great, but we have this little awning. You go up here, and we have a bonfire over a Surtur pit. I'm not sure if that's what it's called because it doesn't have a name in the game, but it's over a Surtur pit, and of course, skull totems waving away danger as we give our offerings of cannibalized flesh to Yah. Absolutely beautiful. All right, now let's move on to another part of the. Well, actually, you know what? Let's go over here, and let's do that. And then let's see it in another lighting. So you can see what it'll look like without a Metavoker ability. And you can see the beautiful swamp atmosphere. How much does that add to that genuine Darfar feel, as opposed to building it in just the desert or just the general mountain areas? This is far superior to me, this sort of image of a elder god that you are watching every single day. It is in your face. It is primal. This is a display. This is where you're about to be sacrificed. I would be scared and intimidated if this is where I was being taken while tied up and gagged and about to be sort of roasted, devoured. They don't even roast you. They devour you first. Then they sacrifice your flesh. It's a nightmare. It's a nightmare. You see this, you start to run. This is what I love. I love it a lot. You can compare it for the pictures yourself. I think I did a more dynamic job here than if it were, say, in Conan Exiles. One of the biggest complaints I have about Conan Exiles is the build pieces always feel very flat to me. I never feel like I can really get what I want out of them because of that. Now, of course, there are great YouTubers like I can't remember the name of the guy, Extradationor guy, that guy, who does great Conan builds, but for me personally, I've never been able to get them to work in a way that I prefer. And of course, we have these very shoddily made structures around the around the temples, trying my best to sort of just get a good area where I can portal down to them and easily visit them, should I so choose. So now let's go and move on to everyone's favorite frost giant, Ymir. Ymir, chief god of the Nordheimer, lord of runes. Let's get into him. And we actually built this, and this is very fun. So, of course, as you might have guessed, frost giant. Where do you think we built it? And that would be near a mountain biome, beautiful structure here. Very excited to show you the recreation of this place. So we look at the the Conan version of it. Now, of course, with the picture on screen, you're going to have to ignore the things surrounding it, the columns and things. Of course, that was added by a player. But if you look at what we've done, we've changed it so that the Valheim engine can represent Ymir very well. We use the clutter mod to get a little bit of the effect of the extra bumps you see moving up here. You see that this is the start of a trend you'll have to see. We have had to accentuate or make larger some aspects of the builds to sort of transfer it over into the sort of a Valheim adaptation of it. We also had one serious flaw. You see, well, I can recreate the horns of Ymir here. I can, with the different side strokes of it. This is a nice dwarf villager here that I chose to build it near some dwarves. They're good people. They're doing dwarf stuff. They're not bad people. They like Ymir. Yeah. Anyway, the face thing. That was the hardest. So what we did to get that face look, of course, is we used the clutter mod, and we used one of their Nordic statues. We also used gravestones to get that effect. So now you walk up, you give your offering, and of course, instead of that initial brazier down here, we decided to take liberties and make it into something that hangs above it that we put the offerings into. And of course, we also have another offering thing below. So major offerings go into the big fire, and smaller sized offerings go up here. Nobody's crowding. Everybody can give their sacrifices to Ymir. No real problems. Blood oaths can be sworn. Runes can be taught. This is Ymir, and I'm very proud of this sort of construct. This was the first one I actually made. It's not the first one I wanted to showcase because we want to build up as we see the more advanced ones. Obviously, I didn't do all the Conan structures. I'm kind of in a rush to get this out because new semester is starting tomorrow, and I'm like, I really want to show people this. But this is made right next to our dear friends, the dwarves, and I've done my best to improve their lives by giving them ridiculous amenities that they don't use. So I hope they're happy, you little pricks. All right. That's this. It's quite beautiful. I like how the mountain biome plays off of it. I like the idea of coming up through a winter's night and just going through nightmarish suffering to get here, all so that you can pay your religious pilgrimage. It has a feeling, and if I had more time, I'd like to do like a 7,000 step Skyrim reference from the mountain down to get up here, so that you kind of like the Greybeards, if you're familiar with that quest and that initial main quest of Skyrim. I would love to do that, just that pilgrimage you have to make up the mountain to pay your respects to your god if you're a true Nordheimer and a true son of the Vanahir or Aesir, Vanaheim or Asgard, Vanaheim or Asgard. And we will we'll take one more look at that, and then we'll take a look at it with the light on. So if you want to see it with different lighting, this is nice. I'm really lucky I didn't show up in the middle of a blizzard, which is great. You can see that playing on. Very beautiful, very beautiful. I loved everything about making this build. This was the first, like I said, this was the first one I made, and this was the start of me getting creative with it. It really helped me learn new building techniques in Valheim. Really excited about that. So let's move on from Ymir, from our wonderful frost giant, to the sort of sky father of the Conan world. What? Okay, so now I'm holding something that's making me... Is it the light? Do I have to have the light gone, or am I holding iron? I am holding iron. Why am I holding iron? There we go. Okay. Oop. Do-do-do-do. Alright, now moving on from Ymir, let's head over to Mitra, who is sort of the sky father of the Conan world. So, as one thing you're obviously going to notice about the Shrine of Mitra, it has a lot in common with a sort of symbol or shrine to Jesus Christ. But it's also very simple. You'll notice that it's very simple. It's a very simple thing, right? It has 3 steps, a slab. We chose to make this a little more epic and a little bigger. Again, like we said before, we have to accentuate some of those elements to transfer them over. But let's go over to our Shrine of Mitra. Shrine of Mitra. And our Shrine of Mitra is going to be quite good, I think. You will quite enjoy this if you enjoy Conan Exiles. We gave him a nice treatment. So, what is the easiest way to accentuate this build? Well, here's the thing. We needed 3 levels. You'll notice that. We needed 3 levels for the altar to be on top, right? That's something you see here. But we also needed a ramp. And here's the thing. Valheim has no ramp. So, what is the ramp? The ramp is going to be a different color. The ramp has been constructed a different color. And we are going to use that to go up, pay our offerings to him. And of course, since we had to accentuate it, since we had to accentuate those steps, and while those steps look great plain when it's that small and that close together, we had to add something else to it. So what adds a good... it gives a nice Middle Eastern influence. Mitra, the idea of Mitra, I feel, is that later it will become Marduk, or the part of the Chaos Comp relationship of religions that we see throughout the ancient world that will be found in the Middle East, or Zoroastrianism. So what I sort of did here was I just added these nice pillars, which add a feeling of reverence, which add a feeling of personhood and protection. So this is where, like I said, in the Pit of Yog, you do see symmetry. Symmetry here is very important because it shows respect and love for the god. It shows a protection. This is a sacred place. This is a sacred space. This is balance. This is correctness. And of course, I chose to do this in the plains biome because, well, here's the thing. Mitra is one of the few gods where, yeah, it could work anywhere, but, you know, it's not out of the ordinary for it to be in a plains biome. You could also do it in the mountain areas because the Hyperboreans are the cultural originators of it, but at the same time, in the Conan lore as it stands today, they are also fallen from grace in many ways. They have they're ruled by a witch queen, so that's kind of their current situation. But yeah, no, this is a good blend of, I would say, just harsher environment, which I think works very well for this god. Again, there is a mod to turn the plains biome into a desert biome. I didn't use it because it's outdated. It doesn't work anymore, but this is effectively what I did. I'm very happy with this. You go up the path, as we said, and this also makes room for more people to give praise, as we said before. So you could have 3 or 4 people be giving praise at once, rather than just one. So the more the merrier when it comes to religion. There we go. There we go. You're always looking to spread that cult. And of course, I'm actually very grateful the way the day is changing with it because, of course, Mitra is very much a sky father, so why not have that beautiful sky and sunrise with it? And of course, we'll just add different lighting if you want to see it that way. First, we'll pull back here so you can see it from the front, and then we'll Z, so that's it with a little extra lighting. If you want to see that, it's very bright, very shiny. And then we'll go over here sort of to try to do that without, because whenever you break the light, it basically acts as a bomb, and you just don't want to damage your structures. All right, now moving on from Mitra, we have one last god, and that is the god of beasts, Jhebbal Sag. Jhebbal Sag. We still have plans to recreate the other ones if this video does well, but even then I'll probably do it for myself later in time anyway. So let's see here. Jhebbal Sag, yes indeed, the Lord of Beasts. And now we are going to the Dark Forest biome, which is where I chose to make him. And the portal placement you'll find is actually very interesting. You see, this is one of the few altars where, hang on. Oh my god. Come on. Come on. There we go. Alright. This is one of the few altars where I literally was able to make the portal in the back. So, this, of course, symbolizes the jungle biome of Conan, which is Conan Exiles, which is very, very fitting for Jhebbal Sag. And we are going to, not even look at it yet, not looking at it yet, we're going to venture forth into it from this point. There we go. So, we see, and this one would actually be way better to have at night. But we see this up in the distance. And of course, this was the one I had the most trouble with. Of course it was. Because we have these black claw fragments here, these black claws, which you can't recreate in Valheim as much as I try. So in place of those, we have those black metal bars on top. So let's go forth here. We wish to commune with the beasts. And here we have the same sort of initial diamond shape up here that the altar itself has. We have that diamond shape to the floor plan here. Right here, and as you can see, the altar is shown right there in the mouth of Jhebbal Sag, just like it is in our deer picture here. It is definitely the one I had to take the most liberties with, and the hardest one to recreate, but I really enjoyed the process, and it was just a compulsion I had to do. But anyway, you make your way on top of here and over here, and you can come up any way you want. It's a very open floor plan here, but then it's also somewhat protective because you only one way to enter. And then we have these things simulating the 4 claws that you'll find in Jhebbal Sag. So, of course, the talons and claws of the beasts, or the 4 legs of the beast, which I feel would be... this might be the only one I still want to alter, because these little straightforward planks here, these little end planks here, these little metal bars going up here and there, I might want to take those out because it'll add to that feeling of Jebbal's claws closing in on you. But... if it isn't, if it works well, because again, you're sort of thrown back as someone with a sort of background in studying religions and cultures. I really do want to create that protective guiding structure there, but it is what it is. So you go through the first set of claws and you enter to give your sacrifice on Jebbal's mouth, which is 2 altars. You'll notice these altars, of course, if you're familiar with Ymir, they are recreations of those as build pieces, and you will give your, not his teeth, however, I am very proud of, because I was able to make those out of various, those same various black stones, and I feel like the teeth and the claws being made of the same material helps a lot for symmetry. Of course, we have the glowing eyes of Jhebbal Sag. Again, like I said, I took the most liberties with this one, because we really want to give it a more animated feeling. To recreate the horns, we have a collection of gravestones and outer structures here, and that is the last build for this video. Now, once we are finally, and I just love it. Just let me look at the black forest biome and how that complements this. It's a little harder to do with this because of the nature of the structure and terrain here. But the black forest biome, you're venturing towards here, you're venturing in here. You see nothing but, like, there's the ocean shore. There's the darkness of the woods that's going to consume you. You have the sun and the mists and everything, but in the middle is the king of the jungle, the king of everything. That is Jhebbal Sag, who's going to rip you apart if you so much as think about crossing him. And one of the things I wanted to do, the hardest things to balance for me when making this build, you can see some of these stairs here come off the ground. I wanted to blend it in with the earth, so raising the ground a bit would be good here, but also only if it has that nice mossy texture, because you want the feeling that this is ancient. It was built by ancient peoples long before anyone even remotely got to your Valheim server. But anyway, this is the altar, the shrine to Jhebbal Sag, as recreated from Conan Exiles into the world of Valheim. Again, even though Valheim pieces, or rather Conan Exiles pieces, start off more detailed, I would say you have a lot more freedom, a lot more dynamic ability in Valheim. I personally like my structure a little bit more. I like that I was able to take liberties with it. On one hand, it's a little bit hard to get that nice sculpture structure. On the other, you get to do what you want with it, and that's always been more important to me as a builder, as a player in these types of games. It's probably why I prefer Valheim to Conan Exiles. So let's head over back, or actually, you know what? We'll close out the video with a nice little look backwards at this. So we'll literally just go backwards from here. Just go up to the teeth and then zoom out a bit. Doop, ba-doop, ba-doop. Just go farthest back we can, and so you can see it in the distance and how you would see it in the distance coming across it. And this is how you would see it. You'd see it in the distance coming across it. You just see blazing eyes and a claw gate. I really enjoy this. I really enjoy this. Well, that's it for us. Come back next time, maybe later tonight or tomorrow morning, and I should finally have all Magic and Conan out, or a complete guide to Magic and Conan out, which will cover the in a very cinematic tone and atmosphere. It should cover the brain. It should cover the different types of Magic in Conan, this time much more expanded from our initial list, where you can learn it, which again has been very expanded from our initial list, and then 3, the process of learning Magic in Conan. So that should be covered in a very cinematic way, much better written way, much better storyteller way than our previous video. So I want to do that, and have a wonderful day.